Let's be honest, parenting can be messy and hard, but also so rewarding. In this podcast, we'll share all the ups and downs of parenthood, as well as share some of our favorite tips and tricks for parenting using both our experiences and expertise from our professional lives as a speech and language pathologist and teacher, but also our everyday lives as moms, just trying to balance it all. We're so glad you could join us.
Hello and welcome to And Then We Had Kids. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Sheena.
And we've taken like a bit of a unintentional summer hiatus. So now we're back.
We did.
Yeah, I feel like it's incredible to think that it's already like beginning of school year, end of summer. Where did it go?
I feel like I had wanted to be like refreshed and re-energized with summer. And I feel like it flew by so quickly that I like never even caught my breath. Like, working in education and the pandemic, it's very much felt like you're drowning and you're just trying to keep your head above water. And so
you're a straight duck, like the visual of a duck or like calm above the surface and your legs are just like frantically around. Yeah.
Was super hopeful that like summer I could like catch my breath, finally like fully like get my head above water, maybe like do the backstroke or float a little. And no,
you're still wearing like 8 different life jackets and still asking for help to stay afloat. Yeah. Well, I don't even know if I shared this. Maybe I have. This is my brain. I like around spring break time, I had like a sweet mental breakdown about parenting and having kids and all that. And then I decided for summer, I was going to hire a sitter. So I had a sitter this summer for 2 days, like nice college nursing student. But this was like a first of like leaving my kids alone. And my vision was like, I'm going to use these 2 days. I'm going to be so productive. It's going to be incredible. I'm going to get so much stuff done around my house. I couldn't be at my house. My son, who is a big, sweet mama's boy, could not handle and still can't handle if I'm home and if my sitter's here. Like he wants to be with me, is attached to the hip. So like my projects that I had listed out and I had great intentions.
All these grand plans that you had for yourself this summer.
Basement's still a hot mess. Yep. My closet is exploding. I did like work out though. That was like something I started and that has been like a game changer. Yeah, I've been going. If anybody, I mean, I missed in COVID and pandemic, like classes, like workout classes. I could not be one to like do it at home in your own time, like just not happening. And then when it became like, you can come back, but you have to wear a mask. And I was like, I can't do that. So now I've been going to Shred. If anyone out there is interested in like a workout class, Shred is awesome. But there's obviously like great workout classes, but that was like for me the one thing that I did. But it's still crazy that it's mid-August, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm also going to be so productive with this podcast, and like you and I are going to have
we had like all these grand plans to like get together and really like dive into some of this work, and
maybe that'll happen in the winter. Maybe it'll be more not so much
wishful thinking.
I know. But since we did chat last, we got to do something incredible that I actually didn't think like on my end I could make happen. I feel like you always knew you were going to, but like we got to travel together.
We did get to travel together, and like not just our typical Door County trips that we do typically every year, which by the way, my husband is still upset that we didn't go to Door County this year. And I was like, well, that's because we went to Scotland all together.
We went on a Euro trip.
Yeah.
I feel like my husband and I got to like enjoy this trip for you and your husband's birthday. You guys had this trip planned like even during COVID, you're like hopeful to do something, right? And then with COVID happening, your trip didn't happen.
So we were supposed to go a couple years ago and COVID actually, obviously happened and shut everything down.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, we have to go back. We went to Scotland. Gosh, this was probably like
You went like
almost 5 years ago. It was like almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
My husband and I fell in love with the country. It's just the scenery is beautiful. There's also, you can get like the city life aspect, which he and I are very similar in that we like either city life or we like the extreme opposite in terms of like country life and nature. Like,
right.
Suburban life isn't really for us. I grew up in the suburbs. He absolutely hates it. But like Scotland gives us a little bit of both of that. And so we really wanted to be able to go back. COVID put a wrench into the mix. And then we were like, well, you know what? We're turning the big 4-0 together. Why not do a big trip to celebrate our 40ths? And we didn't want kids. And yeah, why not bring some friends with our siblings came with. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband was not able to join us, which I'm still a little disappointed about, but I am going to drag him to Europe eventually.
As well, you should.
But yeah, and it was my sister's first time in Europe. My sister-in-law and her husband both live there. So we were excited that they didn't have to travel as far to meet up with us. And then we got to bring a few of our besties.
I mean, it was incredible. It was great. It was so much fun. I feel like, but truth be told, leading up to it, because like you said, this was no kids allowed trip.
No kids allowed, which I have done before.
You have.
However,
I've only been away from my kids for like a long weekend, like leave middle of the day Thursday, come back early Sunday. So like long weekend's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
So like,
and you were still somewhat local in terms of like being within the US.
Yeah. The farthest my husband and I went this past year was Charleston. Like that was where we took our long weekend. And again, a very easy flight. If we needed to, like we could somehow find our way back home relatively easy. So this was the longest stretch that I and my husband have ever been away from our kids. And
because I made you leave the country for what was that, like 10 days?
10 days. Yeah, 10 days.
Which like that I say I made you leave the country.
I got to well, a little bit of you made.
It was just a little nudging.
I wanted to go. Like it was such like a crazy feeling of like, because my husband and I, we've been to Europe before separately together. And we have friends who live in Paris, and the way you fell in love with Scotland is how I feel about Paris. Like I wish I could go to Paris like every weekend.
Yeah.
Like I just love it. There's something about it that is like when I'm there, I'm like the happiest I can be. Other than being with my kids, love you. But no, truly like it's great. And so we, like I said, we have friends there. So when we were deciding of like, let's go to Scotland, I'm like, how about we also go to Paris? So my husband.
But on top of that, let's back up a little bit.
So back up to around the holidays. Sheena is a great influencer in many ways. And one of those ways is like who we follow on Instagram, because like there's so much out there. Obviously you get flooded and dated and like sometimes overwhelmed with people and followers. But we'll do a shout out. There is this woman, her name's Rebecca. Her Instagram is Everyday Parisian. And so Sheena, you had followed her first, and around the holidays.
She's Chicago based.
A photographer. Like
a photographer. I love her photos.
Yes. I feel like I can't.
We're similar in age.
Yes.
I just like how personal. She's like very personable.
Yeah. I met her at Wells Street Art Fair.
You did?
I did.
What?
Yes. This is like
not told me this.
I swear I did. Yeah. So she was talked her in a nice way. But yeah, she was at Wells Street Art Fair this past year. I think it was her first year having a booth there. But yeah, if you're looking for some like beautiful Parisian, and she just recently went to like Italy and has like prints from
Italy prints too in her print shop, which I'll stick the link to her print shop in our notes. Just again, it's just someone that we both
Yeah.
like
it's refreshing.
enjoy
Someone
following.
local.
Right.
Yes.
She like is just very real. She and I actually, she doesn't know this because it's not like I've actually met her. I just follow her on Instagram, but we go to the same hairstylist. So
Oh, your hair looks great, by the
thank
way. You
you.
just got it done.
Just chopped off several inches.
Looks beautiful.
So, but anyways, so we follow Rebecca on Instagram, Everyday Parisian, and
around the holidays, she was doing a giveaway with a fellow friend photographer who lives in Paris, who used to live in New York, I think.
Yeah, she's like an American, moved out there, married a Parisian.
Yeah.
Also a photographer. I
might be saying this wrong. I feel terrible. It's Katie Donnelly.
Yep.
Photography. So anyway, the two of them had paired up and said, like, let's do a giveaway around the holidays, and you could win a photo shoot in Paris. So Sheena and I both
entered this
giveaway. I mean, how many Instagram giveaways do I try? More than a handful.
Right.
You and I both have won collectively a few things.
We've won some other ones, but this was like a big one for us that we were super excited about.
So I get an email. Yeah, like several.
Well, not like the first prize, but like,
so I didn't.
The second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever prizes were still phenomenal.
Yeah. So I won a Paris photo shoot, and I was like, oh my gosh, like first of all, amazing. Second of all, how can I get to Paris for this photo shoot this year? It had to be like during the summer.
Right.
There were some like stipulations around it, obviously. And so they're like, let us know when you're going to be here. I'm like, let me figure out and talk to my husband first. So again, like we're like in the talks of like, maybe let's go to Scotland. I think we can make it happen. You know, you guys are starting to like look at flights. We're starting to like book things. I realized I need to like work out childcare. And then it was like, okay, like, how do we get to Paris?
How do we tack on Paris?
How do we tack on? So trip? My husband and I, we were able to go to Paris for the first weekend, and we did our photo shoot there. Among also like seeing our friends, which was great. And so if you're ever in Paris or wanting to do a photo shoot, I highly recommend it. It was just like a really cool experience that I definitely wouldn't have done if I didn't win this. But I do feel like moving forward in my life, if I can schedule a professional photo shoot, like for places that are meaningful, and if like my family's there, or like, it was just nice to like have new pictures of like just me and my husband.
Right.
So it was incredible. In Paris. Yeah. So we got like bunch of like a photo album. We got like a big blow up print coming our way. And then we got to like meet you guys in Scotland. So it was like kind of the best of both worlds for us. I will say, like, you know, we did a lot of planning ahead of time, because since you had been there, like you then wanted to like tackle some places that you hadn't been. But
and because this was like
cool. At that point, I'm like, I'm just going to go along for the ride. Whatever you have planned.
Like I remember asking everyone that was going, like, what are your must-dos, your must-sees? And everyone's like, I don't know. And so I was like, well, then you're all going to do what the hell I want.
And we did.
And
which was glorious. Yeah. So we missed we started in Edinburgh, and my husband and I missed that part of the trip, which is like, okay, because it just makes me want to go back and like see the city part that you were talking about. We definitely got to experience more of like the countryside, some of the smaller towns. So I was going to see like, what were some of the highlights from your perspective?
From Edinburgh specifically, or the Scotland trip in general?
Any part of the trip. Yeah.
So the last time I went, I was pregnant. And Scotland is really, like, for those of you that are hikers, Scotland is has amazing, gorgeous hikes. And I'm not an avid hiker, but I enjoy light hiking.
I'm with you on that, which I think is why this trip also worked. Like it wasn't as if it was a group of like superstar athletes,
like you're not going to see
me
backpacking with like days worth of stuff and wanting to like pitch a tent and sleep in a tent. That is not how I roll.
You could in Scotland.
You could
do that. Yeah.
But that's not how I roll. I am more of the 100%. Glamping type. I need my own toilet and shower. I need more than just a sleeping bag, right? So like easy day hikes is totally my jam. And Scotland has like the perfect scenery for that, right?
Yes.
So I knew I wanted to do Edinburgh to get a little bit of the city. I wanted my sister to see some like a European city and then like the more country like scenic aspect in terms of like the mountains and stuff, that I fell in love with Scotland the first time I went. And again, this was her first European vacation, so she's not been to Europe before. So I of course love, I think people don't like, if you've never been to Edinburgh before, you don't realize how hilly that city is.
So yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I walked up a big hill,
very giant hill.
Yes.
And then an additional like 4 flights of stairs to get to our Airbnb. Which by the way was like the perfect location. It's right off the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, which at one end you have Edinburgh Castle, which was where we had stayed this time. And then at the other end is Holyrood Palace. And there's just tons to see and shops and places to eat. But the last time we went, I couldn't do some of those hikes. I was like in my first trimester.
Yeah.
Morning sickness was, like rearing its beastly head. And I honestly, so people said it was in Outlander. I don't remember it being an Outlander. I'm a big Rick Steves fan. I'm a big nerd like that. And I love Rick Steves and I want to be his friend and I want to become him in my next life. But so every time we travel, I always have a Rick Steves book for our like travel destination. So in it, he had written about a place called the Devil's Pulpit. And it's this gorgeous hike. But to get down to it, it's not like the easiest climb down. And so the last time we went, we went in December, January. It was winter. It was cold, icy, snow. And I started to go down and my husband was like, no.
Yeah.
You're pregnant. We're not doing this. It was like too dangerous.
I would agree that was beautiful. I had to look up where it was in Outlander. I think it said, I'm trying to remember. I think it's season 1 when Claire and
McDougal, right?
McDougal are like talking. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't look any further past that, but you're right. Supposedly it's in Outlander.
It is in Outlander.
But I agree. That part was like, it was beautiful, but I could only imagine it because it's like a stairway down, but I say stairway light, like it's basically like rocks that are obviously formed into like stairs.
Steps, right. With a rope that you can hold on to.
If it was icy, I don't know if I could have done it. It was a beautiful day. So
right. Well, and when we went, it was still like wet. There's moss growing on all of the rocks, which of course adds to the, I guess danger aspect of trying to get down this. But so like that was a must do for me. So that was a highlight because I couldn't do it last time, but I got to do it this time. And that was the one day that we had almost everyone minus the couple that blew a tire. Sorry.
rental cars and driving on the other side of the road.
Driving on the other side of the road.
A challenge when traveling.
Yeah.
Flexibility is key is what my mom would say in that regards for traveling.
We definitely had to be flexible and do some last minute planning. But the other highlight for me was another thing I couldn't do the last time because I was pregnant and had the morning sickness. We did a 3-island tour off from Oban. So Oban was our base for that part of the trip. And we went to the Isles of Mull, Staffa, and Iona. And I had really wanted to do Staffa because they have this beautiful basalt cave with basalt columns called Fingal's Cave. And I also get motion sickness like to begin with. So then you add morning sickness on top of that. There was like no way
you couldn't have
pulled that off.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But this time we were able to do it, and so we got to climb Fingal's Cave, which was awesome, and I also think puffins are, quite frankly, like, the cutest birds I've ever seen, and so you could actually climb, the Isle of Staffa and see a puffin colony.
And you get, like, really
You can
close
get decently close. Now,
Yeah.
avian flu is a thing right now, and so you're not supposed to get too close to them, but, like, I got some really cool pictures and videos of the
Yeah.
puffins,
Yeah.
which, for those that don't know, they're kind of like this weird mix between, like, would you say like a toucan and a penguin almost, but, like, cuter,
Oh, yeah, that would
right?
be I was wondering what 2 birds you were gonna say. Yeah,
Right?
I would say so. Yeah, super cute. I feel like people should know what puffins are, but if you don't, check
Look
them
'em
out
up.
in Scotland. Yeah. I would agree. That was, like, a lot of fun. I also, like
Also,
you I
you
think you
picked that
said this.
Airbnb, and that was, like, it was a gorgeous Airbnb, it had a
Yes.
perfect view. I So obviously our listeners don't know this, but you and some of our close friends know that the last time I was in Scotland and stayed in Oban, I didn't have the most pleasant experience due to our lodging situation,
Yes.
because our hotel was a little creepy, and I was, like, pretty sure that someone had died in the room and, like, was worried ghosts were gonna
You
wake me
weren't
up
up
or
for that
something.
haunted tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, our that one so what we did to, like, plan because it was such, like, a long trip and that were so many of us, like, it didn't seem fair to, like, have you or your husband plan the whole thing in regards to, like, the itinerary, getting housing, looking up restaurants and activities, all that stuff. So, like, we divided and conquered, and yeah, Oban was mine, and it's, like, a lot of pressure to find something, and at that point, it was like everybody was there. So we were at, like, the max amount of people
yep.
that we were ever gonna have of people coming and going, and I really wanted and hopeful to find a place that we could all be together because I think that definitely makes or breaks, like you said, your housing and lodging, your vacation. So, yeah, this house, I again, we're gonna write up a little bit about our Scotland trip and where we stayed in the activities, and this house was just incredible. It was great.
Yeah.
It could fit a ton of people comfortably. Everybody had their own bathroom, like you said, because it was like
Like, I'm pretty sure it's
a
a bed
bed
and
and breakfast.
breakfast.
It
Yeah.
seemed like, yeah. But it's this huge house on top of a hill. So again, really hilly. You're gonna like. I joke that like everyone in Scotland must have like the best looking butts because all you're doing is like working your glutes walking around there. So you do some good walking to get up to this house, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
To oversee everything there.
So I obviously love everything about Scotland, but considering this was your first time, like, what were your favorite parts as a Scotland newbie?
I mean, I agree the 2 places that we went to that you said, I agree with. And we went to a place, in was it Portree? The fairy pools? That was a
Portree, yep,
hike.
up on Isle of
Again,
Skye.
um, I'm again not also like a big hiker, but that one was like so cool to me and it really wasn't too bad. It was beautiful. So I opted not to be a driver at all on this trip. Sheena's husband basically chauffeured me around all of Scotland for 7 days. And I could just like sit there and look out the window. Like
Yeah.
it's just so pretty. And you had made like a Scottish playlist. And so like listening to the music while driving and looking at the scenery, I feel like that was really I just enjoy it. You just like every once in a while
Yeah.
you're like, holy crap, it's just so pretty here and
To be
so
fair,
green.
I make a playlist every time my husband and I travel to fit with, like, the theme of wherever we're
I
going.
think that's like a huge takeaway that I took from this trip was like, hey, why not make a cool
I
playlist
have
that's
a
just gonna
I have
make
a London playlist, I have a Spain playlist, I have a Hawaii playlist.
that is
Scotland playlist is my
brilliant,
favorite,
beyond
but
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, the places you listed, um again, I just love like walking around. I'm also such like a people watcher, that like parking up and just sitting in front of like or like at a bar or cafe or something like that is just it's just fun. I just love it.
Yeah.
And I liked just the pace of things that we went at. Like it wasn't super rushed. I mean, obviously we had things to do, but it was also like chill. Like it was nice.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was to go back. I do want to go back because I want to experience Edinburgh, and like the city part. But yeah, like driving around, it was just beautiful. So if people don't have it on their bucket list, they should put it on
Yeah.
there.
And I feel like it's like not a place that everyone thinks of. Like I think a lot of times people want to go check out Ireland and
Yeah.
London and things like that. But I personally feel like if Scotland's not on your bucket list, it should be.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I didn't realize the last time we had gone, but I made everyone do that stayed on Isle of Skye was to check out the beach that had dinosaur footprints. So
Oh
obviously
yeah.
people know my older son is obsessed with dinosaurs, and it was like
Obsessed. Yes,
really
true
important to
obsession.
me to
Yes.
get a picture of the dinosaur footprints to show him. So that was another fun little
Yeah.
kind of unplanned excursion because I don't think I realized that until we were there. I don't think that was originally on our itinerary.
No, you didn't have that on
Yeah.
there. But I did find out that that is like a hidden talent of mine is finding dinosaur footprints.
Yep.
I can't get paid for it, I don't think. But I wish I could. So it's like on this like rocky beach kind of thing, and it just says that there were like X number of footprints made by some dinosaurs that your son obviously knows.
Right. He knows, but we can't. We
I
don't
can't
know.
remember.
Nor can we probably pronounce it.
No. And so like some of it is like hard to find because you're like, is this a dinosaur footprint? Is this just like a cool rock design? I could find them.
Right. And I think
good.
it's supposed to be easier to find the footprints at low tide when like some of the water has pulled out from
You
the
trying to
beach.
take
But
away from my talent?
no, I'm
I'm
saying
just
that
kidding.
like I'm actually saying that you are awesome because it wasn't low tide.
No, it wasn't.
That
But
maybe
that was
I
cool.
could have
Yeah.
found more had it been low tide, but it wasn't. So I was relying
Yeah.
on you to find them.
Yeah. No, that was really cool. I feel like I have a really good picture of like the dinosaur footprint.
Yeah,
Neither one of my kids are obsessed. Maybe I'll say yet as much as your son is, but maybe one day.
He's obsessed.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I had a fair amount of anxiety leading up to the trip.
Did you really?
I did. Basically just like of leaving my kids. I mean,
Okay.
it's like not about traveling. I felt like, okay, we're going with a group that I feel really safe to be with. Everything that we're doing sounds incredible. I knew like once I got literally on the plane, I would be fine. And my kids stayed with my parents and my mom and they love my parents. Love, like so much.
Yeah.
My mom is she is a retired preschool teacher. So like the first day she made like a calendar with my daughter of like the activities that they were going to do.
She didn't.
Yeah, like this day we have swimming, this day my cousin was going to go over and play with them. This day she had gymnastics, this day my mother-in-law was going to visit until they got to like cross it off. So my mom was sending pictures of that and my kids were fine, right? They were fine. And so was I once I got on the plane. And I feel like this trip was I don't think I realized how much I needed an adult only trip for this long.
Yeah.
Because
even I think we were busy enough that like at least for me, we were busy enough that there wasn't so much downtime that I then like my mind went to how are the kids?
Yes. I thought I would have like multiple sessions where I'd be like, Sheena, I need to just like cry with you because I miss my kid so much. Like, what am I doing here? I feel so guilty. Zero crying about my kids, which was great. But I think even like, I mean, we were talking about just like the world is a crazy place and your mind and body post baby are so different than what it ever was, that even leading up to it, I feel like my like anxiety levels were at a higher level than what I would want them to be. That this trip felt like a restart, a refresh. Like I came back and even now I like feel so much better.
Yeah. How did your parents like having the kids for that long?
My mom said she was, and my mom would never tell me if anything was hard. Like she would never
She's
tell
not
me
like my
on the
mother.
trip. What? Did your
She's
mom
not
tell
like,
you that?
I'll let you go first and then I'll tell you what my mother said.
Okay, so my mom would never like on a trip like send me a message and be like, I'm having a really hard time, or like the kids are really tough. Like she would never say that until I got home and then tell me the story. She did tell me that she was like a little nervous after the first few days, that she was like, I was tired. I was very tired. I was just worried I wasn't going to have enough energy to keep up with them. And she's like, but then I had help and it was okay. And I think my daughter got up one night in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and one night there was like a really bad storm here, so she got up from the thunder.
Yeah.
But my mom was like, other than that, like they were good. So I mean, I feel like I've tapped out my like parental, like my grandparent babysitting for the time being.
For the time being, right?
Yeah, for the time being. They'll definitely watch them
Mm.
again, but like that was a big ask.
Yeah.
What did your mom say?
So my mom and Adam's mom tag teamed
Uh-huh.
the kids. And my mother-in-law is like the sweetest person you will ever meet. I don't think
truly.
she can say
Yes.
like a nasty word about anyone.
No.
So she came back and was just saying how tired she was, like kind of emphasizing what your mom said, right?
Yeah.
Apparently I'm like tripping up on my words. My mom and his mom made a pact that whoever saw us first was supposed to tell us that they were never going to do it again. Which again, my mother-in-law lives with us for part of the week because she helps watch the kids each week, and she can't say anything mean. So she didn't tell us this. She just told us how tired she was.
My gosh.
Then the following week, we went and we always spend the first week of August up at our lake house in Wisconsin for my brother-in-law's birthday. And my husband and I got there first with the kids. We were like the first family up after my parents. And I found this out from my sister on the trip, but my mom confirmed it afterwards. She said, never again.
For like that long of a time period, or like
so I asked, I clarified. So like just for that length of time, like never again, or just like not for a couple more years till they're a little bit older and like can be a little bit more independent. Yeah. And she just kept saying, never again.
Oh my gosh. What did your kids do? Just energized boys.
It's part of it is they're super high energy. The younger one is a handful.
Yeah.
And because my mother-in-law spends a good part of each week with us, the kids are really like clingy to her because she's like a third parent.
Right.
And so they were super clingy to my mother-in-law. And so it was hard for my mom to give her a break because they'd lose their minds if Gigi left.
Yes. Right.
So.
Oh my gosh.
My mother will not like beat around the bush. She will tell you how she feels, and she did.
My goodness.
But I also thought it was funny that like my sister was like, hey.
Yeah, she heard it. She heard it too.
The older one had a meltdown at the fair, and the younger ones, like running mom ragged, and it's just funny.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I mean, so I think they will. It's just they for sure need some time to like re-energize. The younger one for sure. I think when he's a little bit older, maybe I'm crossing my fingers, hoping he'll be a little bit easier to manage. But he's just he's a different personality than the older one.
Right. And that's great.
So
it'll serve him well in the future.
So I think that just means that our next international trip, the kids are going to have to come with. So
no. We'll figure it out.
Well, they're coming with on the next one for sure.
But I thought you meant like with us as friends.
Yes.
No.
Oh, I for sure will continue to do adults only. I don't care if I have to find multiple sitters.
So I feel like as parents, as like just being able to find time to take a vacation of any kind. And the saying is like, it takes a village to raise a child. And it truly does. If there's someone that like you can and feel comfortable having your kids with for a night, a few nights, 10 days.
It doesn't have to be a 10-day European vacation.
No, it does not. But it's just incredible how you realize, like, even just like connecting with your significant other, like having time to do that really does you good.
Yeah.
And it is needed. So, I mean, we're excited to get back up and running and get on our schedule here since summer is, I can't believe it, like over. Like your students are starting in like 2 days.
My students start in a couple of days. We're recording this on a Tuesday. They start on Thursday, and then the older one starts his new school for pre-K next week. So
yeah, mine start in 2 weeks. So we'll be sharing our experiences about like school. I'm on a board this year for my daughter's school. So I'll be sharing.
For you.
I needed something. I
somehow got on a volunteer list. I don't have time to volunteer for them, but whatever.
That's good for you. You have to get involved.
Not good helpful. For me. I don't know how I got on the list.
You volunteered.
You
clicked a button and said, I'll be there.
I probably clicked the button. And you know why I clicked the button? Because I don't read everything. Just like I don't always listen to things. I don't listen to people.
Well,
one of these days I will.
Now's the time to listen and read. Yeah. But yeah, and I think we'll be chatting up a little bit about some as schedule changes. You're bound to see some more behaviors pop up from kids as that shifts and they're starting a new school year, new expectations, just new routines. So yeah, we're just excited to get back in a groove here.
Get back on our schedule as well.
So. Exactly.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all of the latest, you can follow us on Instagram @_andthenwehadkids. Thanks again, and like we say, life used to be carefree, and then we had kids.